Hello guys, welcome to Education Mark. In this video we will talk about most asked interview questions in Mindtree in 2021, and also if you are applied for any software engineer job role, then this video is for you. All these topics we will cover in this video: data structure, OOPS, string database and SQL, some basic programming questions. These interview questions asked in every interview if you are applied for any software position. So let's talk about data structure. So first question is, what is array? Array syntax and type of array. An array is data structure that contain a group of elements. Typically these elements are all of the same data type, such as an integer or string. Array are commonly used in computer program to organize data so that a related set of value can be easily sorted. There are two types of array: one dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. You can see the diagram and syntax of both of them, how one dimensional array is represented and how multi-dimensional array is represented. You can see on my screen. So second question is, find particular element in array. So first of all we have to see which type of data we have given, because solution is not enough. We have to also give approach and efficient solution to the interviewer if you want to make impression on a front of him or her. Normally there are two types of data. We have unordered data and ordered data. If you have unordered data, then you have to normally apply linear search that will take O of n time complexity, and if you have ordered or sorted data, then you have to use binary search that will take only O of log n time. Third question is, print the index of array. So this is very simple question, but normally people get confused when interviewer asks this question to you. So as you can see on screen, we have an array of size 5, and after that we use a for loop, and after that we print array element, and as well as we also print the index of array. So fourth question is, suppose we have an array of size 10 and we initialize that array by these numbers, what it will print at a of index 10? Then simply it will print 0. Fifth question is, most repeated element in array. So we have a given example and we have a given an array. In this array 7 is repeated mostly, that is the frequency of 7 is 3 times, so you have to write program for this. So sixth question is, unique element in array. Array can be either sorted or unsorted, so you have to prepare for both of these. So as you can see on a screen, we have a given an example of an array. In this array 2 is only repeated once, so this is unique element. So you have to find these type of element in array. In this video I am not covering all the coding questions, so you have to do from your own. I will just give some ideas about the question, what type of question interview can ask to you. Seventh question is, print the diagonal of matrix. So we have to print diagonal of matrix. So as you can see, we use to for loop, and inside for loop we give the condition I is equal to j, then it will print the matrix, then it will only print the diagonal of matrix. The next question is, difference between time complexity and space complexity. So normally time complexity is defined how much time a program will take to run according to their input size, and if you talk about space complexity, then how much space a program will take to run according to their input size. So next question is, why did we need linked list when we already have an array? And this question also can ask something like this: what is difference between array and linked list? So if we talk about array, then size of array is fixed, and when we initialize or when we declare the array, then we have to declare our size of array. But in the case of linked list, we don't need to fix the size, because it allocate memory dynamically. So that this is the most advantage of a linked list than array. And if we talk about the operations like deletion and insertion, then in the case of a array it will take a lot of time to insertion and deletion, because we have to shift all the elements when we delete and insert any element. If we talk about linked list, then we need not to shift any element or any node in the linked list. We just have to search the element where we want to insert or delete, we can easily delete and insert any element in the linked list. So next question is how many types of searching algorithms we have and which one is best. So there are two types of algorithm of searching. We have linear search and a binary search. If we talk about linear search, then it's very simple searching algorithm where it will take O of n time complexity, but in the case of linear search we do not have any criteria of a data can be either sorted and unsorted. And if we talk about binary search, then binary search is very fast searching algorithm and it will take only O of log n time. But in the case of a binary search we have a prerequisite, which is data should be sorted. So you can say binary search is more efficient, but it depends on data. If our data is sorted, then definitely we have to use binary search. So next question is how do we reverse a singly linked list? So normally it is not possible to reverse a singly linked list, but it is possible to reverse a doubly linked list. But by using a recursive method we can do these tasks, but it will take O of n time. That is not a good time complexity. So normally we not preferred it. If we talk about doubly linked list, then we have a two pointer head and tail, so we can traverse in both of the side of a linked list, and it will take O of one time only. So normally we not preferred to reverse a singly linked list by using recursive or iterative method. So next question is difference between singly and circular linked list. So if we talk about singly linked list, so it is a collection of nodes or set of nodes which is connected to each other, and the last node of the singly linked list is contain null value in their address part. If we talk about circular linked list, then circular linked list is also set of nodes which is connected to each other as like a singly linked list, but difference between both of them is in the last node of the circular linked list it contain the address of the first node, where in the case of a singly linked list the last node contain null in their address part. So next question is application of stack in programming words. So in this question we are not talking about a real world example, but we are talking about a programming word example. So that is infix to prefix and postfix conversion. Tower of Hanoi is very famous application of stack. Parenthesis counter is also a application of stack, and undo and redo in our text editor. So next question is application of queue in programming code. If we talk about real world, then we can use the example of a ticket counter, and if we talk about a programming word, then when a resources is shared among multiple customer, example include CPU scheduling and disk scheduling. Second example, we can use input output buffer, files, file input output, etc. Now let's talk about OOPS object oriented programming questions. So first question is what is OOPS? Object oriented programming system. OOPS is a programming concept that work on the principle of abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance and polymorphism. It allows user to create objects they want. So next question is features of OOPS. As you can see on screen, object, class, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation and data abstraction is feature of OOPS. So you have to learn each of them separately. So next question is what is class and object in OOPS. So if we talk about class, it is user defined data type which holds its own data member and member function which can access and use by creating an instance of that class. A C++ class is like a blueprint of object. If we take the example of cars, there may have many cars with different names, brands, but also them share some common properties like all of them. We have a four-wheeler in car, speed limit, mileage range. So here car is class and wheel and speed limits all are the properties of class. If we talk about object, an object is an instance of class. When a class is defined, no memory is allocated, but when we create an object, then memory is allocated. So normally when we create a class and inside class we create methods and data members, then basically memory is not allocated to class, but when we create a object of that particular class, then memory is allocated. So next question is difference between function overloading and function overriding. So if we talk about function overloading, then function overloading is a feature that allow us to have same function more than one in a program. Overloaded function have same name but their signature must be different. As you can see on example, we have a function called fun. In first fun we normally take one argument, in second fun we take two argument, and in third fun we normally use the different data type and take one argument. So this is overloading. And if you talk about overriding, function overriding is a feature of OOPS programming that allow us to override a function of parent class in child class. Suppose we have a given function in our parent class, and in child class we want to override, and we want to change something in our child class according to their functionality. Then we can change easily by using overriding property of OOPS. So next question is, what is constructor? So in C++, constructor is a special method which is invoked automatically at the time of object creation. It is also used to initialize the data member of a new object. Generally, the constructor in C++ has the same name as class or structure. So normally there are two types of constructor we have in C++: default constructor and parameterized constructor. Also we have a one constructor called copy constructor. So if you talk about the code of a constructor, then you can see here we created a class called employee, and inside class we created a constructor same name as class name, and we print default constructor invoked. If you talk about main function, then inside main function we created a object called even of employee class, and when we created our object, then constructor is called, and when constructor is called, then block of the constructor is executed like a default constructor invoked. Again we second time created object e2, then again constructor called, and again print default constructor invoked. So if we created 5 object, then 5 times constructor is called, and 5 times print default constructor is invoked. So next question is, what is destructor? A destructor works opposite to constructor. It destructs the object of class. It can be defined only once in class, like constructors. A destructor is defined like constructor. It must have same name as class name, but it is prefixed with the tilde sign. As you see in code, we created a class called employee. Inside employee class we created a constructor, and after that we created a destructor with a tilde sign. If we talk about main function, then inside main function we created two object e1 and e2 of employee class. So first time constructor is called, and again second time constructor is called. After that the destructor is called. Destructor is normally used to release the memory which is allocated to the object. So now let's talk about the string questions. So difference between string and array. If we talk about array is a sequential collection of element of similar data type, where if we talk about string refer to sequence of character represented as single data type. Element of array are stored contiguously in increment memory location, where string can be stored in any manner in memory location. Any array is a special variable that can hold more than one value at a time, but in the case of string we can hold one data at a time. If we talk about array are mutable, meaning the field can be modified or changed, but in the case of string we cannot change any of the character once we created the string. How will you get to know about end of string? String in C are represented by array of character. The end of string is marked with a special character, the null character, which is simply the character with the value null or 0. So as you can see on a screen, we have given a character array, and in character we have given particular address for that particular index. At the end of the character we have given value null, so it will represent it that here our string is end string. So these are the some coding questions which asked in a Mindtree interview, and as well as also in other software interviews. So our question is, write a program to reverse a string without using built-in function. Next question is, print character in string which occurs only once. So do the following operation in string. We have a given input Mindtree, and we have to print the output as you can see on screen. So next question, eliminate duplicate character from a string. So we have a given input a b c c d and we have to print output a b c d. So these are the some coding questions, so you must prepare for these type of questions. So now let's talk about database and SQL questions. So first question is, what is primary key, how it's different than candidate key. So primary key is unique key and non-null key which identify a record uniquely in table. A table can have only one primary key. Candidate key is also a unique key to identify a record uniquely in table, but a table can have multiple candidate key, but in the table we only have one primary key. Primary key cannot be a null value, but in the case of a candidate key we can have null value. As you can see on given example, we normally define id column to a primary key. So next question is difference between inner join and outer join. So if we talk about inner join is operation that return a combined tuples between two and more tables where at least one attribute in common. In simple words, we can say it will return intersection of two tables as you can see on diagram. And also you can see query select star from table 1 inner join table 2 on table 1 dot column name is equal to table 2 dot column name. If we talk about outer join, then outer join simply return the union of two tables. Next question is, what is ACID property? So a transaction is a single logical unit of works which access and possibly modify the content of database. Transaction access data using read and write operation. So normally if we are change somewhere in our database, then we have to do some transaction of a read and a write operation. So for this we have a ACID property, and normally it created some rules for our database transaction. So ACID stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. If we talk about atomicity, by this we mean that either the entire transaction takes place at once or doesn't happen at all. There is no midway transaction, do not occur partially. So we have two conditions: all the transaction is completed and no transaction is completed. It means if any one transaction is failed, then all the transaction is failed automatically. Consistency, this means the integrity constraint must be maintained so that database is consistent before and after transaction. It refers to correctness of database. So if we take the example, as you can see on screen, before transaction we have a value 500 plus 200 is 700, and after transaction we have again value 700. Therefore database is consistent. So because our value is not changed before the transaction and after the transaction, it means our transaction is consistent. If the value of t1 and t2 is not equal, then our transaction is failed or incomplete. If we talk about isolation, the property ensure that multiple transaction can occur concurrently without leading to inconsistency of database state. So as you can see on screen, we are doing a task concurrently as like a read and write, and again the value change x to x multiplied by 100 and the y value change to y minus 50 and write. So normally durability define that if we commit our data, then it will go to the non-volatile memory of our hard disk, and after that if any failure occur, then our data will not lost. So next question is, what is normalization? Normalization is a process of organizing the data in database to avoid data redundancy, insertion and update anomaly and deletion anomaly. So if we talk about our table, then in our table same data is repeated again and again, then data redundancy will increase and it will affect the performance of our database. So normally the types of normal forms, there are 4 types of normal form. We have first normal form, second normal form, third normal form and a code normal form. So next question, difference between delete, truncate and drop. This is so confusing question. Normally people get confused in this question. So if we talk about delete, the delete statement remove rows one at a time. We can also delete all the rows at a time by using delete all command, but in the case of delete we can roll back our data. If we talk about truncate remove all the rows from the table. So it will only remove all the rows from the table. It will not remove schema of our table. But in the case of truncate, we can't roll back our data again. If we talk about drop remove all rows from the table as well as delete the schema of the table also. And deleted data cannot be rolled back. So in the case of drop, we lost everything schema as well as our table data, but in the case of truncate we left our schema at the end. So next question is difference between where and having clause. So where clause can be used with select, insert and update statement, where if we talk about having clause can only be used with select statement. Aggregate function cannot be used in where clause unless it is in subquery contained a having clause. Aggregate function can be used in having clause. Where clause select rows before grouping, having clause select rows after grouping. So you can also see the query of a where and having clause. In the case of having clause we use aggregated function average. So now let's talk about some basic programming concepts. So first question is difference between C and Java language. So Java is object oriented language and has a mechanism to define class and object, where C is structured programming language, and in the case of C we do not have any class and object concept. Java have mechanism to define class and object, where we do not have in the case of a C. Java does not include C unique keywords like a goto, size of, typedef, where in C we have goto, size of and typedef keyword. Java does not contain data type struct, union and enum, where C contains struct, union and enum. Next question, difference between switch case and if else. It is also a confusing question, and normally people get confused in this question. So normally if we talk about switch case, the switch expression is tested for equally only, and if in the case of if else we can test it for multiple test cases. Only one value is used to match again all the case levels. In the case of if else, multiple expression can be tested for branching. Switch case is not effectively when cracking for a range value, but in the case of if else we can use range value. Switch case cannot handle floating points, but in the case of if else uh, it can be handled floating values. So next question is difference between break and continue. As you can see on screen, normally if we break any statement, where suppose we want to break the value in at I is equal to 4, then we break. After that it will not print value again. So 1 2 3. If we talk about continue, when our value is I is equal to 4, then it will again continue the loop till the size of a loop. So next question is what is exception handling and why it is needed. An exception handling is an unwanted event that interrupt the normal flow of the program. When exception occur, program execution get terminated. In this case we get a system generated error message. The good thing about exception is that they can be handled in Java. By handling the exception we can provide a meaningful message to user about the issues rather than a system generated message which may not be understandable to the user. By using exception handling we make sure that all the statement executed and the flow of program doesn't break. So normally we use exception handling to avoid the system error. So next question is difference between final and finally. So if we talk about final is used to apply restriction on class, method and variable. Final class can't be inherited, final method can't be overridden, and final variable value can't be changed. As you can see in example, we are trying to change the value of final. Then it will give the error, compilation error, as you can see in example. We have a variable called field1, which is normal variable of integer, and the second variable of field2 is a final variable. Then we are trying to change the value of final variable field2 in the parent function, then it will give the compilation error. If we talk about finally used to place the important code, it will execute it whether the exception is handled or not. As you can see in example, finally block will be executed either the try condition is true or false. It will always executed once. So next question is swap two numbers without using third variable. So we can do this by using lot of methods, but here I'm normally define two methods where we can change our variable value without using third temporary variable, as you can see on screen. So next question is what is recursion? Write a factorial program using recursion. The process in which function call itself directly or indirectly is called recursion, and the corresponding function is called recursive function. So you can see the example of a recursion. So next question is difference between call by value and call by reference. So in this parameter passing method, values of actual parameter are copied to functions formal parameter, and the two types of parameter are stored in different memory location. So any change made inside functions are not reflected to actual parameter of the caller. As you can see in example, normally we give our integer value to 100, and after that we will print the before function call. So our value is 100 before calling the function, and after that change function will call, and before adding value inside the function num, it will return 10, as you can see on output black screen on here. After that number value will change into 200, as you can see on screen output screen, and after that it will print on 200. After that again we go in our main function, and we will check x value, then it will print 100. It means the value of x is not changed according to their parameter. Where if you talk about call by reference, then both the actual and formal parameter is referred to same location, so any change made inside the function are actually reflected in actual parameter. So in the case of call by reference, we normally provide the address of a particular variable to the pointer variable, then it will change the value of a basic actual parameter also. As like you can see in example, normally we have a change function, and normally we define integer x is equal to 100 in our main function. After that we print the value of x, which is 100, as you can see in output screen. After that we called our change function with the address of x, then it will go to the memory location of x, and after that it will change the value of x also. So before adding the value inside the function, it will normally print 100, and after that here value is changed of a number as well as x also. So it will reflected in both of the parameters, actual and formal parameter. So the value of the x is also will be changed after a function call x is equal to 200, but in the case of call by value, the value is not changed. So next question is what is type conversion or typecasting? How is it done? So converting one data type into another data type is called typecasting. Suppose we have a given integer data type and want to change into long, then we can also change by using typecasting. But in you can see in example, we normal given a variable in integer, and we want to change it into double. Normally we typecast here by using double keyword. After that we print the value of win, then you can see the value of integer variable is typecasting in a float value. So next question is what is static and dynamic memory allocation, which area it will take in memory. So if you talk about static memory allocation, compiler allocate the memory for the declared variable at compile time. It is non-compile time memory allocation or static memory allocation. You can take the example of array. Normally we give the array size at the time of compilation, and if we talk about the location where the static memory is allocated, that is stack. If we talk about dynamic memory allocation, then it will allocate memory at a runtime. Normally it is allocating in a heap area of memory. You can see an example how dynamic memory is allocated. Here we have a pointer variable and we have a malloc function for a dynamic memory allocation. Next question is what is pointer? A pointer is a variable that stores a memory address. Pointers are used to store address of other variable or memory item. Pointers are very useful for another type of parameter passing, usually refers to pass by address. Pointers are essentially for dynamic memory allocation. As you can see in screen, we have an example of a pointer where we print the address of a particular variable by using pointer. And you can see output screen here. It will print the address of a particular variable by using pointer. So next question is, what is static variable, how it's different than normal variable? So static variable is a global variable and it is shared among all the objects of the class. And non-static variable are specified to instance object in which they are declared. A static variable is declared using static keyword, and normal variable is not required to have any special keyword. If you talk about the code, then we created a fun function. Inside fun function we create a static variable and non-static variable, and we increment both of them. When this function is called from the void main, then first time it will call, and the value of a static variable is assigned to 1 and non-static variable assigned to 1, and after that it will increment by 1 and it will print 2. After that, again second time when function is called, then again non-static variable is assigned to 1, but in the case of static variable it will not assign to 1, it will take previous value, because scope of the static variable is whole program. But if we talk about the non-static variable, then non-static variable have only scope inside the function. If once function is completed execute, then scope of non-static variable is complete, and again it will assign a value to 1, but in the case of static variable it will take a previous value. So you can see the value of a static variable is increment every time by 1, but in the case of non-static variable it is still print 2, because the scope of the non-static variable is only inside the function. So here you can see the some programming questions which ask in almost every interview questions if you are preparing for any software engineer job role. First program is write a program to check the given number is prime or not, and the second program is for palindrome. Third program is Armstrong number in between 100 and 500. Fourth program is write a program to count the number of digit in given number. Write a program to find smallest and largest element in array. What is Fibonacci series? And write a program to print Fibonacci series. I suggest you to all prepare all the questions with their code part. Thank you guys. I hope this video is helpful for you to crack your interviews. So please like the video, subscribe the channel so you can get more update like these type of interview questions. Thank you.